Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Doremichords, as it is the new Pendulum archetype that has a bunch of cute fairies. I want to kind of show you guys kind of what the deck can do in its pure form. I've seen people do different builds with like the Pendulum like magician cards, and I've also seen people try out playing with like Cerberus and stuff. And I think those are really cool, but I just want to highlight the deck itself in like what I consider in a pure form. So the deck is really all about being able to protect your summons. So with all the Pendulum monster effects as of right now, it pretty much makes it so they have the Pendulum effects. Like there's two different ones. Obviously you want one in like each zone. So one of them will say like the opponent can't activate spell traps or monster effects when you go for that Pendulum summon. And there's other ones where they make it so your Pendulum summons cannot be negated, which actually is a pretty cool effect, because sometimes when they negate like one Pendulum, it gets rid of everything, and it can be something that absolutely just you get wrecked after that effect. But at the end of the day, I don't really feel like too many people are playing cards where it's just stopping like the Pendulum summon, or as a response to actually summoning those cards. Like there's no bottomless. It's like people aren't playing those cards anymore, or torrentials. You know, those are cards that are pretty much outdated. But what the archetype does really like to do, and like two of the important cards over here, and the cards are searchable, and the deck does have an okay-ish consistency, but to throw up like, you know, 5 negates, this is probably not going to be that kind of a deck. In terms of disruptions, you can have kind of 2, and I'll get over that in a second, because it requires certain things to be met. So Musica is kind of one of the really good cards. So it has different effects, depending if you have odd or even Pendulum scale. So if it's odd, you get to summon a face-up Doremichord Pendulum monster with an odd Pendulum scale, and then if it's even, you get the one with the even Pendulum scale from your extra deck to special summon it. And then if it's both though, which is kind of what you want to do, you get to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. So that's like one of their disruptions. Their other card that is a counter trap card. Whenever your opponent does anything spell trap or monster effect, you get to, as long as you happen to have a Doremichord card in your Pendulum zone, you get to shuffle a face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck into the main deck, and then you can make so the Pendulum monster is unaffected by that opponent's card effect, or the cards in your Pendulum zone cannot be destroyed by that opponent's card effect, or cards in your Pendulum zones can't be banished by that opponent's card effect. You only activate one per turn, but like I just feel like, why not just like negate that effect and destroy the monster versus just like, oh, it's unaffected. Like I would rather have just run Solemn. I know this card's technically searchable, so it helps out with the archetype, but I just feel like when you make a Pendulum deck, if you don't have the consistency of getting like, you know, a couple monsters out and you draw too many spells and traps, it can definitely be something that is difficult to really utilize. But I mean, against this, I know Cubics isn't the most meta. In fact, this deck probably won't have a really good matchup against what I would consider meta. But the main point is like if your opponent is someone like one card, you can like basically keep them steady in terms of like a grind game, slower pace deck. It can compete with that, as it's, you know, Pendulum decks that can keep on throwing out monsters. Now, the monsters don't have that much attack, but there is like a card up their sleeve, and I'll get into that in a moment here, which can deal with, let's say, larger monsters. There's also a cool card over here that KSHA was playing called the Trias here, and that allows you to go ahead and potentially destroy a card your opponent controls and also draw 2 cards if you utilize the 3 tribute effect over here. It's just a card that has decent defense, and it can kind of help out in the deck. There's not really like an insane board turn 1, and I'll show you guys kind of the 2 things that you can go for. But I already showed off the music. Music is like a really like common play where it's like you set the music because you search it out. But on top of that, Soul Pendulum is actually a really good card for the archetype. So this lets you target 2 cards in your Pendulum zones, and you get to change each of the target's Pendulum scale by 1. So it really helps out potentially just going up, you know, or whatever the case may be that you need to go for, to get like the odd or even from one of the cards. Then you utilize that other card, maybe move it, go away, bring out another Pendulum zone. You guys get the idea. But this card's really cool because it lets you summon Pendulum-wise. It lets you do it twice. Now, this other guy's playing some crazy new Reptile deck. He has some crazy tech. I just saw this, like, what the heck is this? But it actually was interesting. But nonetheless, I don't know if this deck has really any chance in what I would consider in the metagame. But there is this card that does have that awesome ability. So this is a quick effect. Lets you target an effect monster your opponent controls, or the spell and trap instead. And if it would be leaving the field, it gets banished instead. So this is kind of your like, I want to banish the card. You still have to get rid of it. It doesn't just banish the card outright when it's summoned. It has to target it. where is it? You can target a face-up spell, trap, or a monster, and it has to be an effect monster, so no Blue Eyes Kappa. But yeah, if it would leave the field, so you still have to do something to get rid of it, which I think it just needed to come out and get rid of the monster in order for it to be a little bit more viable. Now, Korea over here does have a effect where you can special summon it by attributing 2 Pendulum monsters, but you can also use each of the following effects of it once per turn. So this is another card that you want to try to get out turn 1. The ability of this card is to target a face-up card your opponent controls, or 2 if you have an odd pendulum scale in your pendulum zone. You get to negate their effects until the end of your opponent's turn, and then also this is a separate part of the fact that when a monster attack less than or equal to the highest pendulum scale in your pendulum zone times 300 activates its effect as a quick effect, you get to destroy that monster. So the quick effect is only going to be able to, when your opponent activates an effect, destroy it. It does not negate it. The negate effect is activating it basically on your turn, because that's not the quick effect. It's a once per turn effect where you can potentially negate 2 monster effects. But the quick effect is what really makes, you know, a Yu-Gi-Oh deck good, is being able to be reactive on your opponent's turn. Not only negating, but you need to destroy. With this one, you just get to pop, so they're still getting their effect in, which is kind of unfortunate for the archetype. But in this instance over here, the Moral Sword unfortunately happens to have 0 because, well, you can't put to defense position, everything, just keep on slamming right into it, and unfortunately that's not going to be too good for him over there. He's also got the King of Feral Imps and the Alien M frame, but I want to show you guys another duel with this one, because this reptile deck was actually so cool. I kind of wanted to highlight it, and you guys might be like, what the heck, Ball Man? Dude, these guys are doing wild stuff, alright? But once again, the main point of it is actually the Doremichords. In fact, I heard a lot of people talking about this deck being like not viable. Heck, the Pendulum Master himself, shout out to Triff Gaming, he even tweeted out and said this deck sucks. So I mean, there it is for you guys. But again, I think that the deck needs more cards. It probably will get more support later down the line, but I know a lot of people are like, you know, are these any good? Because we were having a discussion when we first checked out the cards. Are these worse than War Rocks? I mean, at least you can kind of go for some Link plays, but again, I just think that if you want to play a Link deck, there's way better options out there. Like, if you want to play a Pendulum deck, there's so many better options for you. Or if you want to play like a deck that Link spams, you can play like Link Dragon. You go for a Master. Like, what does the deck do turn 1? Butia, and like maybe you can go for a play, but like you don't have the card to discard because you need to complete your Pendulum scale, and like you want this. Like, there's just too many things that you need in this archetype. What it needs is, maybe when this card is placed in your Pendulum zone, you get to like draw 1 card or something. Like the deck literally needs some sort of draw power, even though there's like wavering. There's some Pendulum support, but I think it needs its own in order to try to get out all these monsters and then get the search of like the pop one. And then again, remember, you only get to, as a quick effect, destroy a card. It's like an ogre versus, you know, a negate and destroy, if that makes any sense. And I just feel like it's a little bit lackluster. But in this duel, you'll see some decent stats on the monster, as Soul Pendulum is able to get counters on it. This card's really cool for the deck because it's able to increase the scales. So if you need to go odd or evens, this card just lets you do it really easy. And then to follow that up, you also get the extra bonus of attack. So it's okay. I mean, it has 2,500. This is like one of the stronger monsters in the archetype. This is also like an okay-ish strongest monster in the deck. But you can see he's got okay attack. He goes for the Hydra. I can't pop it because it's Masquerena. I think he kind of made what I consider kind of a little bit of misplay. But he's able to tribute that, because remember, this is a quick effect, and he's able to pop. I like this card a lot in the deck because it adds a little bit more utility, although it's kind of it's like a anomaly. Like, it's just weird that it works well in the deck, but it's got good defense. Again, you're able to destroy a card your opponent controls, so it adds another form of disruption. But you got Tribute 3. It's a lot, to be honest. I think it's just asking for too much at the moment. They just need a really good boss monster, I think. But yeah, being able to add back like a card every single turn that's there, it's okay, and he's able to go ahead and secure the dub on here. But like, it's mostly against what I would consider like lower tier decks. Not like, okay, Ice Bears, let's be honest, it's pretty low tier, but it is coming out, so hey, let's go ahead and highlight some Ice Barriers over here. But can it defeat Ice Barriers? Like, this guy was playing Sanctuary in the Sky. There's another card that I thought was interesting that let me actually go to it really quick. There's one where like your opponent can't activate anything until the end of the damage, so it's like, come on, these effects are just simply outdated. There's one where you can like bounce back your opponent's card, which this guy's actually playing with like an Odd Eyes variant, which I think that again, even if you play like a mix-up in the deck, there's just better options. But there is a card that does allow you to whenever the, here we go, this is one of them. If I can mouse over it, there we go, QDI, come on. Oh, well, let me, okay. Well, you know what, we'll talk about it. Let's watch the duel over here, because ice barriers, if it can't beat ice barriers, is it even good? I mean, honestly, like, the deck doesn't really have an extra deck, so you can play, you know, some of the cards that would get rid of your extra deck, and it's like no problem at all. But nonetheless, ice barriers, he's got the clear wall set up, so you know, once you have to have 3 or more ice barrier monsters, your opponent's stuff from the extra deck, they're unaffected by it. It doesn't really matter though, but you can see like there's just not enough disruptions in here. Even though he's playing this, there's like he was trying some weird cheese thing. I don't think it was like that viable, but I want to go and show you guys some of like the other cards that I didn't get to talk about, but I think you guys get kind of the idea of like how it kind of plays. It's just one of those archetypes that just needs a lot more support. It's just kind of underdeveloped, but I'll at least give you guys the gameplay now. But let's go ahead and hop into the deck profile. Alright, so hopping right into the deck profile, this is the card that I did want to go over, but I couldn't select it. The Doremichord QDS. So what her ability is she makes it so while you have an even pendulum scale in your pendulum zone, the Doremichord pendulum monsters you control gain attack equal to their pendulum scale times 100. So this is another way to kind of get over maybe stronger things that you normally couldn't. And then also Butia is kind of one of like, I'd say these two are definitely like the boss monsters of the deck. But Butia has the effect where once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a monster with attack higher than or equal to the lowest pendulum scale, you get to just destroy that monster. I think like the same for this guy is like unnecessary, but he was trying some weird thing out. I'll give you guys all the different deck profiles here, but this one's courtesy of KSHA, so shout out to them over here. But I thought this card was really cool, and I think that because they're all fairy, right? They're all fairy pendulums with obviously hand traps here, but I think Christie would be a kind of a cool addition to the deck, as it does lock people out. But again, just going for Christie is meh. I think the counter trap card, you can see they're not even playing it in their build. There's also Wavering Eyes. But just making it any just generic Link deck is still not what I would consider as viable. I would just rather play, if I want to just play Pendulum deck, you know, Pendulum Magician and Demion. Those are probably going to be just a little bit better. But I'll go and show you guys the different builds. This one is from Momon over here. Obviously with Extravagance, you don't really need your extra deck too much. There's not anything that is going to be sticking out over here. Most of them are kind of playing the same stuff. I'll do these kind of fast as there's several over here, and I'll also give you guys the download if you guys want just one click download it via the Discord. I don't know if I went over the extra deck of this one, so mouse over it real quick once again. Okay, and then a lot of the builds are kind of playing pretty much just maxing out on all of the monsters. This guy is actually, Foxito over here is playing the Ignite Reload as well, but pretty much most of them just trying to go Masquerade into something else during your opponent's turn. A lot of times it would end up being Unicorn, but you can see, you can make Appaloosa, but there's just so many other better decks that can like go into Appaloosa to make better options. I'd say like out of all of them, I like KS's a little bit more. Because I thought this was a really cool tech card. Again, as a quick effect, it lets you maybe use all of your monster's effects, right? Like you make that other monster go away, but then you have it so it's going to be banished when it leaves the field. But again, I just feel like if it was just quick effect banish, that would be so much better. Like the deck needs a lot more, but that's at least what the deck can do right now. You guys can let me know your thoughts down below if you guys have any cool other like builds with it, because I would love to see the deck be a lot more powerful, but there's just not enough, I think, right now in the archetype. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here and you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content, or maybe when the deck gets some new support, we'll cover it again and we'll show off what it can do in the future. But take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.